But without further ado, Peter, I'm going to pass things over to you, and you can go ahead and get things started. Let's talk e-signatures.
Thank you. It's working. Hi, everybody. Thanks for being here. I'm Peter Haldeman. I'm on the Adobe Document Cloud marketing team, and here to talk about the impact of e-signatures in a quote-to-cash solution. With me today, Nancy Nardin from Smart Selling Tools. And we also have in the back, who'll be up here shortly, Jonathan Schreiber. Adobe has been an Apttus partner for many years now. We have many great customers together. And I think what I'd like to share with you today is how e-signatures can help drive greater results in a quote-to-cash solution. Nancy will be up first. So Nancy, again, with Smart Selling Tools, founder of Smart Selling Tools, is an expert in this space, advises companies on sales tools that can help drive better results. Especially with the ever-changing world of sales tools, it's important to keep track of those changes and how they can drive value for ever-changing sales organizations. And so Nancy does that. I think just this week you've released the 2017 version of the recommended sales tools guide. It's very helpful. I encourage you to check that out. Nancy's done some research around e-signatures in working with other sales tools, and so she'll be sharing some of those results with you. I will share some of the results that we've seen from our own research, and then Jonathan will show you how that works with Adobe Sign and Apttus together. And without any further ado, Nancy, I should move this forward. There you go.
Terrific.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll go ahead and move that forward one more. Good morning. I don't know, there must be like a big party going on, but I'm sure grateful to have all of you here with us right now. Peter mentioned a little bit about what we do. We have a site. It's got loads of free resources. So if you are confused or just want to keep up to date on the sales tools that are out there, we track about 400 of them. We have 40 of them in our top sales tools of 2017 guide, which just went out yesterday. So go ahead and check out our site. I think you'll find a lot of very informative information. Okay, this is my dog, Teddy Bear. She's just such a sweetheart. I love her to death. I can't imagine my life without her, but I've only had her 3 months. Until then, she has lived in a cage on a concrete floor as part of a puppy mill. I'm sure a lot of dogs go through this. And it was a sad thing until one day when someone forgot to latch up her cage, and Teddy escaped with 4 puppies. She ended up on the ranch next door, and thankfully to a number of people who all kind of came together and volunteered, including the SPCA, the neighbor on the ranch who said, no, I'm sorry, I haven't seen a dog, came together to rescue Teddy and bring her back to good health. Part of what they had to do is a triage, in a sense, and figure out, well, what do we need to do for Teddy first? She had no skin. She was just pink. And she had mange, and she had giardia, and she had all kinds of things. So they had to do a triage to figure out how do we bring Teddy back to health. And that's what we have to do on the sales technology side as well. If we want to really drive revenue, then we have to figure out what our priorities are. Where should we start first? And that's a difficult thing to do. You have a lot of people that are trying to, provide input and a lot of varying views. But in the end, what you want to do is triage so that you can drive the most revenue possible. So we put together a model that helps you do that. And I'm sorry, the text for some reason turned out black. It should be white. The very bottom is, let's see if I can get this to work, who to sell to. And this is kind of like Maslow's hierarchy. So the who to sell to is the most fundamental thing that you have to do to figure out, do we have our sales stack oriented this right way, right? So if we don't know who to call, why we're calling them, we don't have a good list put together, we might as well not go further up the food chain, right? Don't shoot for self-actualization if you don't have food, shelter, and water handled first. So the second thing is, once you have that figured out, How do we get them to engage? It's almost impossible to get a buyer on the phone these days. You have to be extremely relevant. You have to be different in the way you approach and reach out to them. And if you're not, you're just going to be viewed as another sales rep. And that means you're not going to get them to engage, which means you can't go to the next level. And the next level is, okay, now, how do we communicate value in a way that the prospect will understand? How do we get them to say, yes, we believe in what you have to offer, and not only that, but we have consensus in the organization. Now, all along the hierarchy are technologies to help support that. One of the most important levels is closing, because if you can't close, the first 3 levels are really meaningless. You put a lot of effort and a lot of cost into your sales process, and you're not able to bring the sales home. And likewise, it doesn't matter if you do the first 3 levels, if you have those complete. If you can't close, I guess I just said that, so you know what I mean, right? They all matter. They're all very important. But we wanted to take a look at, how do people make technology decisions? Okay, they don't all use this model, believe me. They don't have that necessarily. So how do they make technology decisions? Who's involved in the technology decisions? How do they decide what challenges they need to solve? And so we did a study last year, and the study really analyzes, we asked a lot of questions, and there was a really big surprise in there that I'm going to share with you. First, let me start with, I'm going to actually just skip that slide. Let me start with this. Of all those people that we surveyed, 13% among non-users, and let me explain what that means. So we surveyed everyone, and we said, which technologies do you think would provide the most benefit for your sales organization? And we gave them 13 different technologies they could pick from. E-signing was one of them. So we said, please rank these 13 technologies, which ones provide the most benefit? E-signatures came in 13th, but that was only among the non-users. So think about it. Have you ever not bought something because you just said, I don't see the benefit, I don't think it's going to be really worth it, and then somebody tells you, oh no, you've got to get that, that's amazing, you have to absolutely get that, and you get it and you go, what the heck was I thinking? I should have had that a long time ago. Well, this is surprising, but the real surprise is that among users of e-signature technology, they ranked it number 1. So it went from 13 to number 1. The users said, you know what? This provides the most benefit out of all 13 of these technologies, in my opinion. So, and that's not all, okay? So we had ranking of number 1, but we also had people who said, we're also really very satisfied. So it's not just that we think there's a benefit, we're satisfied. We're satisfied or totally satisfied, very satisfied came in number 2. So that is a bit surprising. The 3 findings I think I mentioned, right? Benefits are underrated. It's tops for satisfaction. But the third piece I haven't hit on yet, and that is that the average number of sales tools that respondents used was 6 to 7. And guess what? Those without e-signatures stopped at 5 tools. So is it possible that they had 5 tools, and the one that brought them the most benefit and the one where they'd be most satisfied, they just missed out on? They didn't get that one. So I think there's a lesson in here, and I believe that the reason why people thought of e-signatures a little bit differently, let me go back, is that they don't understand all of the ways that it's used. We think, okay, great, I can sign something electronically. Great, I can send a document to my prospect and they can sign electronically. But e-signatures, as the users came to realize, do a lot more than that. First of all, it helps you get to revenue recognition faster. You can't invoice, you can't ship until you get a signature on the contract. So everything starts with that signature. Revenue recognition is faster with e-signatures. You can reduce the legal risk, and that's because everything is documented. And you can also make sure that people are abiding by compliance rules. It also shows measurable benefits for CRM investments. Salespeople can't stand to use CRM in general, and so they avoid it. But if you give them tools that are really useful for them within the CRM platform, you're going to find out that they'll use that a lot more. And what that means is that now you'll have more data entered into the CRM system, and what that means is that you'll have more visibility as a marketer, as a manager, into your business. It also gives you visibility in the contract status. If your sales reps are saying, hey, we're going to get this deal, and we're going to get this set of deals this month, and you look and you see the contract hasn't even been opened yet, or that hasn't even been sent out yet, you know that there's a problem. It also enables sales reps to use it anywhere on any device. And that's very important because you don't want to lose out on momentum. Helps them be far more productive and efficient with CRM tools. And it gives ops, and this is really important, a versatile and easy way to implement a tool that makes a difference. I always tell people e-signing is one of the best tools to implement quickly because it gives a fast return on investment. It's not difficult to implement, shouldn't take a lot of involvement and committee members making a decision. So it can really make a big difference. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Peter.
All right, thank you very much, Nancy. And I'll take this. So, I mean, it's really exciting to be working with a technology that can go from number 13 to number 1. In its own way, it's magical, I think. And we see evidence of that in reviews that people write. It really transformed our business, for example. And people will tell us, like on the App Exchange, ways that Adobe Sign has changed their business specifically. And occasionally they'll give us numbers. I looked again this morning. One customer said, we reduced errors with contracts by 90% because of Adobe Sign. And that's really powerful. It's just one of 8, actually more. What you didn't see on that last slide is we reduced paper. For some companies, that's a real initiative. It's another way to help move that forward. But certainly, improving the customer experience is really beneficial, making reps' lives easier, getting to revenue a lot faster. We see a lot of customers who say they've taken 90% of the time out of the signature cycle by moving to e-signatures in Adobe Sign. So really powerful results. We did ask, so we saw this research that Nancy had done, and we went to our own customers who use us with Salesforce and asked them some questions as well, just to see what their reactions would be. Because we have success stories. We've got over 20 success stories with customers who use us with Salesforce. And we see these kinds of results. But we decided to go to all of our customers and ask them what they thought. And you can see the results here. We did this with Tech Validate, where more than 9 in 10 of our customers who use our integration with Salesforce said, you know what, we made a decision to buy Adobe Sign, and we still got more than we expected. I mean, they might have ranked Adobe, e-signatures as number 13 in their list of sales tools, but ultimately, even when they made the decision to buy, they still got more than they expected. And half of those said it was way more than we expected, like really, really good stuff. So it's great, and there's a lot of ways, again, that we deliver benefits, and measurable is really key. So I'm going to show you 2 examples here real quick, joint customers with Adobe and Apttus. The first one is NetApp. So I think you're all familiar with NetApp. Interesting use case, and you can see the quotes here are from Connie Brenton. She's in the legal department at NetApp, right? She's not in sales ops. She's not in sales, she's in legal. And I find talking to a lot of people, even here at the show this week, that legal is often the department that puts the brakes on an e-signature solution because they're not quite sure how that kind of fits. And in their case, they started with non-disclosure agreements, something that was a little bit safer, and then spread like wildfire. So once they proved that use case, then it expanded to sales, and now they're using it throughout the company. But they saw tremendous results, and you can see the outcomes here. They're all measurable. And they actually report on this, I believe, on a monthly basis, up to senior levels, like what e-signatures is driving for them specifically. So they've taken huge time out of their contract process. They've turned the sales contract time around a lot faster, which quite honestly will give you increased contract success rates, because the longer it sits out there, the more risk there is. So that's been really beneficial for them. And then they've also been able to measure the impact, the cost savings by going this route because of these signatures at $200 a contract which for them is millions of dollars a year. So real tangible benefits. The other story I want to highlight here is Ceridian. Same thing, you can see, in this case, Amy Roy is VP of Sales Ops. So now we have someone from Sales Ops who has integrated us with Apttus and said just tremendous results, and you can see that here. They have 80% reduction in sale quote cycle times. They've improved their cost margins by 15%. I mean, these are bottom line measurable results that have really, obviously impressed their leadership and helped them to, sell this across the organization. And I think I'm going to hand this over to Jonathan in just a second, but I think one of the reasons that people are surprised by the impact of these signatures is because the impact is well beyond maybe the specific case that it's brought in for. Maybe you're trying to reduce this, the amount of time that a signature, takes to get signatures, and that's fine. But then you discover you've also improved the customer experience. You've improved the rep's experience in driving maybe adoption of sales tools and CRM. Now it's auditable. Now the legal team loves it because they can go back and they always know when a document was opened, when it was signed, where it is, all those things. So a lot of benefits. Hopefully those have all been clear. Next, I would like to introduce Jonathan Schreiber. Jonathan is on our sales enablement team, the Adobe Document Cloud. Also been a solutions consultant. If you have any technical questions or want to play Stump the Expert later today, he's in the booth in the first part of the afternoon. He's here from New York. I'm really glad to have him, Jonathan. It's all yours.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to see a quick demo today. We're going to get our hands dirty. They did a great job of setting the stage, why you need electronic signatures as part of your process. But what's it actually look like when you're using it, right? How do we get this involved? How do we work it into the process? So we're going to see the benefits here for your senders. We're going to see the benefit you can provide to your signers, and really the power of an Adobe Sign agreement template. So does anybody here know what an agreement template is when it comes to Adobe Sign? Maybe, well, I hope these two raise their hand because they're from Adobe. They're shaking their heads. So everybody's going to learn today. But really, you'll see the power of that. I'm going to save that reveal for when we come across it. And we're going to start today's demo with somebody else named Jonathan, clearly not me. And he's a salesperson. He's in Salesforce. They have Apttus integrated. And that's actually just level set. Do we all have Apttus? Do we all use Apttus? Right? OK, that's good to know. So you know that with the Apttus contract management system, there are these phases you go through, the chevrons at the top of the page. We go from request over to authoring. Next, we go to signature, and then in effect. And signature is really where, obviously, electronic signatures come into play. What do you do today if you're not using an electronic signature solution? Right? You email it out, losing visibility as to where it goes. Maybe they have to print, sign, scan, or they fax it back. It's terrible. And you heard all the reasons for that terrible process earlier. But what if we could integrate an electronic signature solution right in? You can. So let's take a look at what that looks like live. Here we are in Apttus Contract Management. We're in the signature phase, and we go ahead and we click to e-sign. So we have our Apttus dynamically generated document, right? You took all the little bits and pieces and all the logic you needed to create the contract or NDA or master service agreement that was going out based on the information loaded in to Salesforce. But we align that with an Adobe Sign agreement template for Salesforce. And again, after we walk through the benefits for senders and signers, we're going to dive into what that looks like on the back end. But really what's happening here is we're defining the routing rules. Data we want to merge into the form. What do we want to do with that data after it's been collected and signed? Right? Do we want it to go back into Salesforce, update certain fields in the account or opportunity? So we'll take a look into that a bit later. But for our salesperson, Jonathan, he simply clicks select and then sends for signature. And so all the options for sending appear here. And I have this as part of the demo, although you can streamline that and just have it skip this page in your live environment. But we can see here it grabs Sarah Tran, primary contact on the account, and it's going to send her this MSA to review and sign. It processes the document, and it's on its way. I leave this screen part of the demo also because I want you to see we have reminders that can be set up to go out. You can have notifications. You could set the agreement to expire after a certain amount of time. All that visibility is baked in. OK. We get status right in Apttus as well as Salesforce. And we change roles now to Sarah Tran. So Sarah is at her computer, but she could be on her phone, iPad, Android devices, Microsoft, doesn't matter. She clicks into her email. She doesn't need a Sign account. The signers just need a browser. They just need internet connection. Clicks to go into the agreement. She could scroll through, review the document in full, or we have that guided experience. She clicks to sign. We'll scribble her signature or give a text scripted font approach. Applies the graphic. If there's other form fields or checkboxes, radio buttons she needs to fill out in the form, absolutely we can collect that information. And clicks to sign to complete the process. I want you to notice, she clicked to sign and she didn't get a thank you for using Adobe. Please sign up for a trial. No, no, no. The relationship, the experience of the signer is about who they're signing the contract with. It's about the relationship between your customer, your vendor, your partner, and you. So in this case, she's brought to a global corp, which is our fictional company here, page saying, thank you for signing our services agreement. Stay tuned to, for next steps from your rep. We've had people embed videos on this page. Like, you could do whatever you want with it. It's a website of your choosing, and you can have this change per agreement. So an MSA points you to one site, but an NDA points you to another. Maybe you do just want a thank you for signing page that we provide you. It's all about driving that experience. That's the new buzzword, right? Everything's an experience company. My bank is now an experience company somehow. Anyway, back to Jonathan. He's still in Salesforce, and he can see the update that the agreement signed. We have the PDF right next to it, automatically loaded back in. And of course, at the top of the page here, it's fully signed. And so he can move this agreement now from the signature stage to in effect. Now, I told you we were going to roll back the curtain, take a look at what that agreement template was, right? So this is a section, I know when it comes to demos, you're always told, don't show coding in a demo. Don't show behind the scenes. It gets really nasty and ugly. It doesn't get nasty and ugly, and there's no coding. So I have no problem showing you how we did this, right? How do you set this up? Anybody in here a Salesforce admin at all? Do any of that work? We have one, but anybody in this room could do this. So what is an agreement template in this environment? When we click in, it looks like any other Salesforce page, but instead of being an opportunity with an amount or a contact with an address, it's this MSA, where are we routing it to? Who's it going to? Remember that Global Corp URL that it went to after signing? That's right there, okay? All you do is pop the URL in there, and then after they sign, it directs them there. What about how we chose Sarah Tran? We didn't have to program it or write any Apex code. Right there, we just selected from a dropdown, grab the primary contact on the account. One of the things we didn't quite see in this demo, but is very useful, is merging data from Salesforce into the document on its way out. And then, of course, on the flip side, merging the data we collect back into Salesforce on the way back in. And that's configured right here in this data merge mapping. So we have on the screen here, again, it's just drop-down lists. This is what the field in the document is called. So you have a field called first name. You have a field called address. And then where are we pulling that from in Salesforce? And I use this example purposefully because you can see it's pulling the first line item, the name, from the recipient information, from the contact information. It's pulling the second piece from account. So it's going to related objects in Salesforce. And again, you don't have to know how to code in their UI, et cetera. You just select from the drop-down list where you want to pull this from. All of the options become available. So with that, I hope in this short demo, and of course we're happy to schedule time to go longer with you, you've seen how we can accelerate and recognize revenue and improve win rates, reduce your legal risk, and improve compliance. And by the way, I like to throw this term in there, which is the risk of rekeying data. Hey, anybody heard that term before? There is a huge risk there. When you're filling out forms, things get miskeyed. My last name is Schreiber, and I bet that if I ask this room to spell it, we get about 6 different spellings. But if I type it in, it's going to automatically populate correctly. Gaining visibility. We saw that the Jonathan in this demo could see that it was out for signature, could send reminders. As a manager, Jonathan's manager could see how many agreements he had out for signature. He says that deal is going to close, but he hasn't even sent the agreement yet. Or it's been viewed once, but it hasn't been signed off by the right people. And then finally, improving that user experience, right? Not just the fact that they're now clicking to sign, which is so much better than having to find a printer and having that frustration, but also you get to guide their experience and keep the customer journey exactly how you want it and you expect it to be. So that's Adobe and Salesforce, and Adobe and Apttus joined together. So thank you, and we're here for questions if you have any.
Thank you, Jonathan. We do have a couple minutes. It's almost lunchtime, but if you guys have any quick questions, the guys are certainly, and Gail, are on stage if you've got any burning quick questions. Anything? No? Okay, if not, as I think Peter mentioned, the Adobe crew is over in the partner area. You can feel free to stop by and check more out on e-signature and chat with them further about this.
And we also have a handwriting analyst here, which is awesome and fun. So
Oh, very cool.
they're cool too.
Well, thank you guys very much. Thank you guys for attending, and come back after lunch. We've got 3 more sales ops sessions this afternoon.